The GBTA, that's Global Business Travel Association, held its conference in South Africa just before foreign lawmakers slammed borders shut. Board member and well-known industry consultant Robyn Christie, she's a director at Development Promotions, also former Asata CEO and head of Travelport in the region, is here to unpack a few conference highlights. Robyn's also going to talk us through some of the new corporate travel trends and what to expect in 2022.
Hi, Sarah. Yeah, thank you. And your consumer and your travelers are a little more cautious about traveling today without a travel expert than they were perhaps 2 years ago. You know, we all got quite bullish about traveling, you know, and booking it online and doing it ourselves, and we all knew better. And that was a very big problem for corporates because the travelers were not compliant with their policies. So many of them were actually stepping outside of the policy to book directly, thinking that they were getting a great deal, but they were actually just diluting the deals that the company had already negotiated. But that was because it was so accessible for them. But I think today we're seeing that everybody's just being a little more cautious, particularly in the last week. If you didn't have an expert, a travel specialist to assist you, I think life was a little tougher for you. It was a little more difficult to find assistance as far as other flights and help getting on flights or getting off flights or yeah, just generally being helped.
It's definitely an issue. Do you think it's going to have an impact on corporate travel volumes?
I have to say, and I asked the question at the GBTA conference the other day and said, you know, when will corporates actually trust the system and get back into traveling? Surely by now we can see that it's all okay. Well, surely we can see that it's actually not okay. I mean, and this was the risk and all of the things that corporate governance was really cautious about actually played into their hands as well. So I think I think that we will see them return to travel. 50% were basically saying they're ready to go, or they are already traveling, so bundled into that lot. And then the others were saying, you know, we're relying more on virtual, and no, we're not really ready. It's only essential travel. But I don't think that's going to change too dramatically. But I think we will probably, the first quarter of next year, please, that things all go according to plan. I think that's really going to be the most important thing. Sorry, the cat has just arrived. This is her time of the day. One of the conversations we had at the GBTA was actually balancing risk and uncertainty. And of course, this virus or this new mutant variant or whatever it's called has actually given us that uncertainty because we don't know. We don't know whether it's going to be a long-term thing or a short-term thing. But yeah, it's trying to balance what the risk is of actually saying, to hell with it, let's just send them. But now, of course, we have borders closed, so that's not even an option.
What types of services and products are more important now, do you think, compared to pre-COVID times, just to win that business?
We've always known that technology is important, but the reality is that it's not, one cannot work without the other. The technology is one thing. If you haven't got the people in place to actually assist, but it's not just people, you can't just throw people at it. You have to throw skills, you have to throw talent, you have to throw knowledge. And I think one of the things that I'm challenged by in the industry is that I think we've lost a lot of that knowledge or that experience. I think a lot of people have actually left the industry or gone on their own. They've moved into an ITC model. And that's what we're going to, as corporate travel management companies, we're going to have to build up.
What do you think is the corporate travel market's biggest challenge at the moment? And what's needed to remedy it? Travel ban aside.
Okay. So obviously your technology is critical because technology enables data. And if you're not looking at the data, and if you're not actually tracking the data as a TMC and as a corporate buyer, you don't know where you've been. You don't know where you're in the time of a risk-infused drama. You need to identify where your travelers are. You need to understand the PNR. You need to understand, there's so much about the data that you can actually glean and manage your risk from. But you can't just look at that in isolation. You can't just say, I'm going to run my business just with the technology. It's not that kind of an industry. We've seen now more than ever the immediate turn to those specialists. People are critical in this process. And as I said earlier, you can't just throw numbers at it or people at the problem. You have to actually make sure that you've got the right people. And I think the skills in the industry are also changing. You need to have people who are technological, very savvy, who understand the global challenges, who understand the booking process, but who are also savvy enough to be able to upsell. We've got different platforms coming in. We've got the NDC models coming in. That's going to take a different dialogue when you're actually making those kind of bookings. So there's a number of things that are happening, and there's lots of balls in the air as such. And then we haven't really been able to actually ensure, or we haven't actually been able to practice using them because the bookings weren't there. So only when we start seeing the volumes coming through are we going to see what the real issues are. I think the fourth thing is also just having the tools and access to the information that is critical to the organization. And that's in managing the risk. The uncertainty is going to come with things like today or this week. We don't know when it's going to be resumed. We don't know what the issues are or the impact, but actually identifying the risk. So understanding wherever you're sending your travelers, where is the nearest hospital? What is the risk to the individual? What is the hotel like? Are the protocols in force? Understanding the very last detail that your traveler, because possibly the biggest risk to all of us is any traveler getting into trouble, being stranded, contracting another strain, or being abandoned as such. That is, I think, any corporate company's worst nightmare.
What training and resources does the GBTA have in South Africa to help agents through this recovery?
Certainly, the GBTA is there for travel buyers, intended there for travel buyers. But we've had, in the last 2 years, we've hosted a conversation that counts forum every Wednesday. It really has been a meeting place. We've had topical speakers in. But I think that's really what the GBTA is intended. It is a place where they can actually source information as and when it happens. On our global platforms, the global hub, there's a huge amount of data, there's a huge amount of information, examples, really keynote speakers and key opinion leaders in the industry coming from suppliers as well as TMCs as well as travel buyers. The training and resources we do host, and we have different training programs. We've changed them, taken the American out of them. We've put them into local language and local examples, and they've been really successful as well in the last couple of years. So, yeah, we do as much as we possibly can. It really is. It's a task of love for me, for Nikki, for the board. We really do it because I think it's a very important part of the industry. We don't ever consult with the corporate buyers. There's obviously TMCs, suppliers, everybody else is contributing to tourism and travel, but we never really say to the travel buyers, how do you feel? And I think that really is it's an important part of the industry. We are expected, and certainly we saw it when the bookings were increasing and when we opened up and the flights came in, everybody wants prompt service, you want it now. We're dealing with suppliers that are working off a very low base as far as staff is concerned, because it's just been impossible. It's difficult to actually bring back a full force immediately. So yeah, there is a cost of recovery and upskilling and understanding all the new rules, the new regulations, the new protocols, and being able to turn in an instant. And we've seen this last week the kind of changes that can take place and the impact that it has on the organization. So yeah, but you know what? We're winning and we will do it and we will come through this. There's no doubt about it.
Robyn, thank you so much for your time and all of your insights. It's lovely to have you with us.
Pleasure. And from Emma and I, thanks for having us.